All right, we are excited to officially this time announce our Miata Autocross series. We're calling it the Leroy Miata Cup. We changed the name from the Grand Prix to the Miata Cup to make classing numbers on the sides of the car easier. So that's the only change there. So just to recap what this series is, this series is an autocross series across 3 different regions, 7 races, best 5 out of the 7 count. So if you have to miss 2 of them, that's not an issue. And the goal is to create tight racing with as many cars as possible. So we've created our own rule set, which we'll get into the details of what that is here, that allows as many cars as possible coming from different traditional SCCA classes to run. We've been doing lots of testing over the course of 2022, and we figured out a rule set that we think is going to work well, but we'll find out. So, spirit of the class is to get as many Miatas as closely packed together in a series as possible, so that the competition for points is really good. One of the things that we looked at is what do people typically have, and what do people typically want. So we have seen over the years, as we've been obviously servicing Miatas here, that there's a lot of orphaned Miatas, that everyone comes in with the same story. Yeah, I have this car, I love this car, I like to drive it. It's not competitive in any class, but neither am I, so I'm okay with that. Yeah, that's the routine story you hear. Because basically right now, if you're not, you can drive a NB in E Street, or you can drive pretty much anything if you've built it to the max in SSM, or you can drive an ND2 in STR. But the most of the NA and NB platforms really don't have a home competitively. And people could make them competitive, but they like driving the car on the road, so making it into a CSP car just is not what they're looking to do. So with that said, we've created a rule set that carries the spirit of street touring with it. It allows the greatest range of personalization that you want to do to the car, but yet we'll keep the racing competitive. Because let's be honest, if you smack a small little spoiler on the back of your car for decoration, we all know that's not making it any faster. So the way that we are going to be managing the balance of performances with the tire selection, that's pretty much the only thing that's going to have strict regulations to it. So let's go over what cars are eligible, and what you might need to do to yours to get it in. So, and I'm just going to summarize the rule set here, and this rule set is online if you want to go look at it. Okay, any NA NB chassis is eligible except for the Mazda speeds. So 90 to 05. And let's go through. Okay. So, is your car eligible? In brief, here's all you need to know. It needs to be federally and locally compliant as a street legal vehicle. So it still has to have wipers, still has to have lights, still has to have the original seat belt. If you want to run harnesses, that's fine. And it needs to be emissions compliant, because we are a company. We have to comply with federal laws. So any series we host has to also comply with federal laws. We're encouraging these to be street-driven cars, so they have to be emissions compliant. So your CAT, your EGR, all that has to be intact. All right. Bodywork-wise, interior-wise, we'll just go through this in order. Interior, fair game, have at it. Anything you want to do race seats, you want to do a roll bar, go for it. The only rule is it has to still have an interior, no gutted, CSP cars. And it must have the minimum of a functioning, creature comforts. So you have to have heat. You don't have to have AC. You can delete the AC if you want. You do not have to have a radio. But if you've removed the radio, you need to have a finished panel in its place. It needs to have a complete interior. We're hoping to not get nitpicky on stuff like this. Everyone knows what a finished interior is. My car I'll be running has beyond a finished interior. It's got air conditioning, subwoofers, all of my stuff that I want in a daily driver. And we're hoping to show that you can have all that stuff and still run competitively in this class. All right. You must have a top. So you do not have to have a soft top. If you have a hard top, that's fine. But if you do not have a soft top, you have to do your runs with the hard top on it. So no one's getting, the benefit of removing 50 pounds from the top of their car. So either a soft top, up or down, or a hard top that's on, one of the two. All right, body work. Again, spirit of the class. We have no problem with customizing something for cosmetic sake. My car, I did a little bumper cut out of the back because I think it looks cool. You can do cosmetic only body work. You cannot modify the front fenders or the rear fenders such that you're moving the tire outboard of the original position. So you can roll it, you can pull it a little bit if you want, but no cutting it out and putting flares in there to either gain, ride height changes or to stick the wheels further out. When we get to the tires, you'll see there's no reason to do that anyway. Now, if you have already, like there's a car up here that has done fender flares on that, ask us about that. We might have a waiver for exceptions. If we've written off, said yes, in the other class you're running in, you need bigger tires, but there's no performance advantage from what you've done, we might create a form for a write-off, because again, we want to get everyone's car in. We don't want to exclude people if we can perceive that there's not a performance advantage to it. Making your car wider usually is not a positive thing anyway. So, okay, we're going to come back to the wheels and tires section because that's the only detailed area here. Suspension, have at it. There's no limitations on suspension. Anything that you realistically can do with a Miata. There's a couple of minor rules in here, but for all intents and purposes, have at it with the suspension. Same story with the brakes. No limitations on brakes, no limitations on sway bars. Any OEM diff is fine. So any of the OEM limited slips are good to go. Poly bushings, no problem. Electrical system, nothing out of the ordinary. Batteries got to be in the same place. Batteries got to be bolted down. Got to follow all the same safety rules. You are allowed to add extra switches for cooling. I have switches in mind to kick the fans on, to force the fans on during the run. That's fine. And you can add extra gauges so long as they are passive only. So if you want to add AFR, coolant gauges, that's all fine, as long as they're only reading and not inputting data. Engine and drivetrain, again, common sense. We have specs in here for rebuilt motors. A lot of these cars are getting up there in age. The motors have been rebuilt, and the cheapest way to do that is to go up to the next size piston and punch it out. That's fine. We have rules in here for maximum overbore, compression bumping, etc. A couple other tweaks for reliability. The only rule here is it does need to be emissions compliant. So no standalone ECUs, no fiddling with the tune, no swapping out fuel injectors. In terms of engine swaps, say you have an NA and you want to run an NB system in it. Again, that's something we might have a waiver to write off on. That can be done legally. Most people do not do it legally though. So if we inspect it and see that yes, you did do the upgrade swap in an emissions compliant way, which means you brought over the wiring harness and the ECU from the newer model year, we can get your write-off on that one, and that one's acceptable. Exhaust and intake, any exhaust and intake that's street legal, so you still have to have a cat in the system, needs to be 48 state, does not need to be carb, it needs to be 48 state approved. Cooling system, self-explanatory, Okay, let's get back to the tires here. So the way we've discovered to sort out the balance of performance and get everyone running the same, and we got an E-Street car and an STR car running the same lap times with this, and it's simply with tire allegations. So we have a list here of all of the different tires that we got to test last summer, and the maximum width that we found for each tire to make them equal. So for example, if you are on the Yokohamas or the Bridgestone RE71s, which you all know are phenomenally sticky tire, we've capped the width that you're allowed to run at a 205. If you are on a less sticky tire, the Drezas, the Falcons, we're going to let you go up to a 225. If you're on a really not sticky tire like the RS4s, go up to a 245. So if you have a car running in another series, it's very likely you can wind up not having to change anything and bring it over. Conversely, the issue I always had trying to get the NAs to be competitive in STR back in the day is the rules wouldn't allow, I couldn't fit a big enough tire to catch the NBs. So that was what the main performance difference was. So we have neutered all of the performance gains of that. So what you can do, if you're like me, I have a car that I'm building for STR, and in one series I'm going to be running STR. I'm going to be running on 245 rivals. When we go to run the Leroy Miata Cup, we're doing nothing else to the car. We're just switching it to 225 Falcons. So 2 sets of wheels, swap it over, that's fine. If you have an E Street car and normally you're running really skinny wheels, you're welcome to bump it up to a larger size to run in the series and be competitive. What we have determined is, yes, suspension and all that does make a difference. Nothing makes as big of a difference as tires. And if you are a really good driver, we have a driver at our local club who runs an E Street who is routinely catching me because he is superior in driving skill to I am. That's all it's competitive. We will see how the field goes. If we notice a trend with a certain type of car in the top every single week, we'll look to make tweaks to the rule set for the following year. So this is a prototype series. We're going to see how it goes. I'm hoping to get a ton of cars really, really close together and be a bit of an experiment. We'll see how it goes and take it from there. All right, last item. Okay, format rules. So as we said, we're doing 7 races. There's going to be 2 at NEO, Steel Cities, and Misery Bay, and then I haven't decided where the finale is going to be yet. We'll leave that open. There might be something we do. There's a really tiny track that we might run at, and the only class that will be there that day is the LMC class. That'll be our Monaco of the season, just to change it up. So we'll see how that goes. Class lettering. So same rules apply. We're still following all the SCCA guidelines. You need numbers. Make sure if you have a co-driver, you leave space for your extra 1 to pop up there. I'm going to be adding a class here. So the class that I run in on non-Leroy days is going to be STR. I'll have LMC above it and just cross out with tape or a magnet, whichever class I'm not running. We're asking everybody to pre-register on our website for this class, so everybody should have an assigned number for the season. Shouldn't be any issue getting into it mixed up because we're running our own class. Doesn't matter if someone else in another class shows up that day. Everyone should be able to retain their same number for the season. Okay. In terms of packs and how we're again, this is a prototype. If this goes well, we'll see where it goes in the following years. For this year, the way we're going to do this is the LMC classes can either have a very, very high packs or no packs and not be eligible. So when we run another event, we're not going to be messing up their packs championship. We'll all be stuck way at the bottom. We're just racing internally amongst ourselves. If it works out well, we might go through the testing to get an actual packs number assigned for following years. But for now, the whole goal is to get away from packs. We just want to see 30 cars on the grid. Everyone's running for raw time, and I want to see the racing really, really close. The way we're going to do the points, we're doing Mario Kart scoring because it's easy. So after each event, you're going to get assigned points. 11 points for first place, 9 for second, 8 for third, straight on down. And it's purely based on finishing order. We're not going into the gap between them. If first place runs away and he's 2 seconds faster than everybody else, he still just gets that 11 points. We will have a scoreboard running on our website after every week, and you're going to be able to see in what position everyone is standing in. The lowest 2 events get dropped. So after we've passed 5 races, when we hit the 6th race, you'll see the scoreboard start to fluctuate a little bit because everyone's lowest event number is going to get dropped. So it's the best 5 finishes, basically. So if you have to miss an event, you're on vacation, you get sick, whatever, you can't make one, it's okay. It counts as one of the 2 that you got a 0. That's 2 your lowest scores. Okay. I'm getting into some tips, tricks, and suggestions. So I'm going to tell you right now what we believe, and we don't know, what we believe the winning setup is going to be is a 225 Falcon RT660 on either a 15x8 or a 15x9. I'm going to be running them on a 15x8 because I already have the wheels, so I'm done. We do not have a prediction as to what model year is going to be fastest. I'm running a 99. Don't know. So in terms of suspension and all that, run what you're brung. We're going to see how this thing goes. We can certainly make no rules against making mid-year upgrades. If after the first 2 races your car is way behind, let us know. Let's see if we can do something to bring it up. But in terms of tire selection, that's what we're proposing. We're guessing is going to be the hot ticket item. So it's probably the one you want to go for. Yes. All right. Oh, that's right. So we want to have a lot of fun with this. Before the season starts, we're going to have a car show meeting here at the Leroy shop and make up fun little bios and pictures of every entry. So on our website, just like they do with NASCAR and IndyCar, you're going to be able to go to the website and see all the contestants, everyone who's registered for the series, and see a picture of their car, picture of the driver, if you want that, and a little write-up of specs on the car, racing experience, etc. And we're also going to be hopefully doing some videos after each event, putting together a little montage of the highlights of each autocross day. So the goal is, again, we all want to pretend that we're real racing drivers. So and not all of us can go all the way to Lincoln and travel around the country to follow some of these bigger series. So this is going to be a way to get a really competitive local championship that it should produce some really fun, enjoyable racing and competition. We're planning on making it short and concise. We're planning on having all of the races in June, July, August. So just a 3-month window, 2 races per month. So it's not spanning into everyone's vacation time and whatnot. We do not have the schedule yet. We're waiting for all the different tracks to release what dates are available. We will figure that out probably for sure by February. Hopefully by January we'll have that locked down. Yes, I'm sure I missed something, but there's a quick overview. If you have any questions, call us, email us. Let's get you signed up and registered. If you need help with your car before the season starts, let me know. Let's get that scheduled before we go. By starting it in June, everyone will be able to go do some other autocrosses before that little shakedown, test and tune, and see where they land. I'm sure many of us will wind up at the same events, and we can kind of figure out, if we're up to par with where we want to be or not. It should be a very fun season. We're very excited about. We're very excited about the support that the SCCA and the local regions are showing. For sure, please continue to go to your local autocross event, even if it's not part of this series. Go there on an off week and run in what other class your car is set up for and support them. This is not possible without the SCCA regions getting involved. So, looking forward to it, and we'll see you all at the track.